Are ADHD meds safe? Will they turn your child into an emotionless zombie? Will your child need them forever? These are real questions I hear all the time. And today we're going to talk about what ADHD medications are, how they work, and what parents need to know. Hi, I'm Dr. Mona, a pediatrician and mom, and if you've ever felt overwhelmed by all the medication names and options for ADHD, you are not alone. Before we jump in, hit subscribe. Think of it as your long-acting dose of parenting support. And let's get into it. If you've been following this series, you already know ADHD isn't about bad behavior. It's about how the brain is wired and how its chemicals communicate. In ADHD, areas like the frontal cortex, which helps with planning, focus, and self-control, can mature a bit slower or have weaker connections to other brain regions. The limbic system, which drives emotion and motivation, and the basal ganglia, which helps with movement and routine behaviors, also play a role. Inside these networks lives something called the default mode network, basically the brain's idle mode. In most people, it quiets down when we focus. But in ADHD, it stays more active, so thoughts wander even when we want to focus. On a chemical level, two main messengers, dopamine and norepinephrine, don't work as efficiently. Dopamine helps with motivation and reward. Norepinephrine helps sustain attention and filter distractions. Because those signals don't pass smoothly, everyday tasks feel harder to start or finish. It's not a willpower problem, it's wiring. And that's why medication can make such a difference. It helps strengthen those brain circuits and balance those chemicals so kids can focus, organize, and regulate emotions more effectively. So let's talk about how these medications do that. There are two main categories. Stimulants increase dopamine and norepinephrine activity in the brain's prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for attention, planning, and self-control. They help the brain tune in instead of jumping between distractions. Parents often hear stimulants and think that's the opposite of what my ADHD kids need, but it has more to do with stimulation of neurochemicals that need it. Non-stimulants work more indirectly, adjusting those same chemical systems for steadier focus and calmer regulation throughout the day. Kids with ADHD will usually say things like, "My brain finally listens to me." Parents notice mornings go smoother, homework doesn't end in tears, and teachers see stronger focus and follow through. It's not about changing your child, it's about clearing the noise so their strengths can shine through. There are two main stimulant families. Methylphenidate-based stimulants, these include Ritalin, Concerta, Focalin, Metadate, Quillavant XR, Quiliq ER, Abstensio, Jornay, and Atrana, and also generic forms. They come in liquids like Methylin or Quillavant XR, which are great for kids who can't swallow pills, chewables like Quiliq ER, melt-in-your-mouth tabs like Contempla XR, capsules like Focalin XR or Ritalin LA that can be sprinkled on applesauce, and patches like Datrana applied each morning. They can last anywhere from 3 to 12 hours depending on the version. And here's when we may start a methylphenidate. It's often first line for younger children, especially under 8. It tends to have a gentler appetite effect. And if a parent or sibling did well on a methylphenidate med, it's usually worth starting here. Amphetamine-based stimulants. This family includes Adderall, Vyvanse, Medeyus, Dexedrine, Dianavel, Adzensis, Zelstrim. You'll see similar options like liquids like Dianavel XR, chewables, melt in your mouth, capsules you can open, just like with the methylphenidates, and a transdermal patch. These typically last 10 to 12 hours, ideal for full school day coverage plus homework time. And here are when amphetamines are used. If methylphenidate didn't work or cause side effects. If focus improved but hyperactivity or impulsivity didn't. Or if family members have done well on this type. And if you're learning something already that's helping you make a decision for your family, subscribe now because I have a lot more videos coming your way. So not all ADHD medications last the same amount of time, and that's on purpose. Short-acting medications work for about 3 to 5 hours. They start quickly and wear off by early afternoon and can be a good choice when we're first figuring out the right dose or reaction. A child needs coverage for just a part of the day, like school hours or the morning, and we want flexibility on weekends or lighter days. The downside, they may need to be taken 2 or 3 times a day, which can be tough during school hours. Long-acting medications last from 8 to 12 hours. They're designed for one-dose convenience, great for school day coverage, homework, and after-school activities. Some even start working at night, like Jornay PM, so focus is smoother right from the morning. Doctors sometimes mix and match a long-acting dose in the morning and maybe a small, short-acting booster in the afternoon if symptoms return too soon. Which one best depends on your child's schedule, appetite, and how they metabolize the medication. For some families, short-acting offers flexibility, and for others, long-acting keeps things simple. There's no one-size-fits-all, but we see patterns. Inattentive ADHD often responds well to methylphenidate. It gently boosts focus without increasing restlessness. Hyperactive or combined ADHD may respond better to amphetamines. They often help more with impulse control and sustained focus. Kids with anxiety, tics, or sleep issues sometimes do best with non-stimulants like Intuniv or Cafe. So it's less about the label and more about how your child's brain responds, and that is why there can be some trial and error. Non-stimulants include, and I'm reading off the brand name, remember there's also generic forms, Strattera, Intuniv, Cafe, Quellberry. They work gradually, usually over 2 to 6 weeks, and can be used alone or combined with stimulants. When we consider them, if stimulants cause appetite loss, irritability, or sleep issues, if there are tics or anxiety with the other medications, or if families prefer a steadier option with fewer peaks and crashes. And again, sometimes we combine both, a stimulant for daytime and a non-stimulant at night. And here's the reality, no two kids are alike. Two boys who are the same weight could metabolize meds in different ways. And that means finding the right medication is a process. Once we've confirmed the type of ADHD, inattentive, hyperactive, or combined, your prescribing clinician will talk with your family about whether you want to try medication. And if you remember from video 2 from this series, that conversation usually happens after we've discussed behavioral support, routine, and school accommodations. From there, we look at practical things like, can your child swallow pills, or do we need a liquid, chewable, or patch? That often narrows down which medication we start with. We follow the principle of start low and go slow. That means starting at the lowest effective dose and adjusting gradually, like turning up a radio volume. You don't want it blasting, but you don't want it too quiet either. Most clinicians schedule a follow-up within 1 to 2 weeks to check in, especially if this is your first time starting a medication. And what we need from families at these follow-up visits is key. What time the medication was given, when you started noticing it working from your child's or your own perspective, any side effects like appetite loss, headache, stomach upset, mood changes, or tics. When you notice it wearing off, some kids feel an afternoon crash, others taper off smoothly. And any patterns or questions you've noticed in your child's mood, appetite, or sleep. All of this helps us fine-tune the dose, the timing, and the formulation. Now, insurance. The bane of many of our existence, this part can be frustrating. Sometimes families are required to start with a generic or a non-preferred medication before we can give a preferred medication. This happens more often with Medicaid, and it can feel like you're doing something wrong, and you're not. It's the system that adds so many hoops to a process that's already emotional and complicated. So remember, tweaking doses or switching meds isn't failure. It's how we find what works best for your child and is most cost-effective. It takes patience, teamwork, and a good dose of persistence from both sides. And if you feel like watching this video and hearing what I've had to say about ADHD and parenting has been a good fit, hit that subscribe button to support this channel. Now, once we found the right type and dose, the next question is how often your child will take it. ADHD medication can be flexible. Some children take it every day, especially if their symptoms affect them both at home and at school. Others may pause on weekends, holidays, or during summer when focus and structure matter less to the family and when academic and social expectations are lower. Doctors should work with families to find the rhythm that fits your child's needs and your family's routine. This can change over time. As kids grow, schedules shift, or symptoms evolve. There is no moral badge of honor for going without medication. Using medication when it's needed is simply smart support, the same way wearing glasses helps you see or an inhaler helps you breathe. If your child thrives without it some days, awesome. If they need it daily, that's awesome. The goal is to support function and confidence, not worry about the medication. Before we even get here, I always talk with families about non-medication support, structure, routine, therapy, and school accommodations, which I all talked about in video 2. These things matter, and for some kids, they are enough. But I cannot stress this enough. Sometimes medication is what finally clicks. I sat in those visits where parents feel helpless, like nothing was working. And when we found the right medication, the shift was incredible, not just for the child, but for the whole family. Sometimes it's hard to emotionally regulate when your brain feels out of control. So meds can also help with outbursts and emotional regulation, which a lot of ADHD kids struggle with. When the right medication and schedule click, you'll know. Mornings will be calmer, homework doesn't end in tears, transition happen with fewer meltdowns, and teachers see better focus and follow through. And your child starts to feel proud of themselves again. Parents often say it's like someone turned down the static. If your child ever seems flat or zombie-like, that's just a sign that the dose or the type of medication needs adjusting, and that's fixable. The goal is for them to feel more like themselves, not less. Kids may describe it as feeling less annoyed at themselves or say things like, "My brain finally listens to me." That's what we're aiming for, a child who still feels like themselves, but now has the tools to manage their day with less struggle. Sometimes the changes are subtle at first, but over time they build, enjoying school, keeping friendships, and feeling proud of what they can do. For some, meds are lifelong. For others, supports are enough, and both are valid. That perspective connects deeply with what I see every day in clinic. I have watched those kids who once struggled to get through a single school day suddenly start raising their hand in class, smiling more, and finally making friends they couldn't before. Those changes aren't small. They can truly be life-changing. The most common side effects are appetite changes, mild sleep trouble, headaches, or stomach aches. And sometimes with stimulants, tics can come out. But it's not that the medication caused the tic. It's that someone who's prone to tic disorders and are put on stimulant medication, it can exacerbate their symptoms. So if you see tics with the medication, let your clinician know. The other side effects usually improve within weeks, but if they don't, we want to know so we can consider possibly swapping medications. Doctors will also track height, weight, sometimes heart health, especially if there's a family history of cardiac issues. Some patients may need a baseline EKG or tracing of a heart rhythm. And here's the reassurance. Decades of research show that ADHD medications are safe, not addictive, and don't cause brain damage or emotional blunting. Untreated ADHD carries much bigger risks from school struggles, low self-esteem, to higher anxiety and accidents. And here's another school reality, which I've mentioned briefly in video 2. Classrooms are built for neurotypical brains. Without medication, many neurodiverse kids are running a race with weights strapped on. Medication just levels the playing field for ADHD. It doesn't give them an unfair advantage. It gives them equal access to succeed. Medication isn't about changing who your child is. It's about removing barriers so that they can thrive. For some, it's lifelong. For others, temporary. The right choice is the one that helps their child function, grow, and feel confident in their skin and their brain. Progress with ADHD is about building confidence and skills, and medication is one of many tools that can help kids get there. If this video helped, you know what you need to do. Hit subscribe, hit that thumbs up sign, and don't miss my future parenting videos. Think of it as your extended release parenting plan, steady support without the crash. Remember, you are not alone in this. Your child's spark is always worth supporting, and I'm here to help. I'll see you all next time. Stay well.